Is obedience greater than sacrifice? Yeah, pretty much. Glory be to God. What is good, y'all? Welcome to or back to another episode of Yeah, Pretty Much, a show where I try to get on the devil's nerves for 10 minutes or more or less every Monday. First and foremost, shout out to Ashley for doing last week's podcast. She did a very good job. I thought what she said was very impactful. If you haven't watched it already, go check that out. I think it'll be very beneficial for you and anybody. So share it with your friends and family. And yeah, thank you, Ashley. I love you and I appreciate you for doing that. And the second thing, if you're watching this and you're like, what happened to his hair? I cut my hair a long time ago. I cut my hair probably back in like June. So yeah, that's that. Just in case anybody was wondering. I know people might leave in the comments what happened to the hair. I just wanted to just nip that in the bud from the jump. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, today I want to talk about obedience and the importance of obedience, and how powerful it is, because God has been showing me a lot lately, how if you get in line with him and you start doing what he tells you to do, like, life becomes so much easier. And if you've been listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, then you know the theme, kind of sort of like the overarching point of this whole year has been, Lord, speak, for your servant is listening. And that kind of ties in. And then I went for like a little break for a while, and then I came back with, I feel like, Jonah. And when I spoke about Jonah wasn't obedient when he was told to go do something, and then he ended up in a well. So that's kind of been like the whole kind of vibe. Like, that's what God has been really showing me this whole year, really, the importance of obedience, and like how in this time is very important when God tells you to do something, to do it. Because another thing that I've been hearing is we really don't have any time to waste. I've heard that from multiple people in multiple scenarios. People have been saying we really don't have any more time like that to be wasting. And I don't know what they know. You know, no one knows when Jesus is coming back. Like the Bible says, no one knows the day nor the hour. So no one knows when Jesus is coming back, but I'm sure people have a feeling. And I'm sure we all have been feeling this feeling lately. Like, you know, we don't have time to waste. So I definitely agree with that. And so it's very, very, very important in this season now to do what it is that God is asking you to do. Doing it, not asking, but telling, you know. We do have free will. So you could be goofy and be disobedient. But as we've seen in the Bible multiple times, people that are disobedient, their lives, it just don't look good for them, you know. Adam and Eve in the beginning, they really only had one main mission, one main rule that they weren't supposed to break, and that was to not eat from that tree. And you saw what happened when they ate from the tree. Like, their disobedience caused all of this, right? But in the same vein, obedience can bring so much fruit, you know. And I looked in the Bible, and I looked at multiple stories in the Bible, and I wanted to find a unique situation where somebody was obedient. But the one that came to my head was, if you're familiar with the Bible, it was, I think it was David and Joshua or someone like that. But they were trying to communicate with each other. So he asked, one of the people asked the other people to shoot an arrow. And the arrow was supposed to represent something. But as I started to look into it, I said, that's not a very good representation of obedience to God. He did what I think it was I think it was David. He did what he asked him to do, but what about what God asked you to do? And so I had to go to one of the legends, one of the OGs, and that was Noah. So Noah was obedient, right? And we're not going to get into a whole deep, detailed analysis of Noah. But if you do want to see an analysis of Noah, I did do a write-up on Noah back in like 2020 or something like that. And I'll link that in the description so you can go read that. But overall, I want to speak about how Noah was told to build an ark, right? Noah was told to build an ark because it was going to rain. So it's like, imagine you're getting told to do something like that. Like, imagine God comes to you and he says, Sasha, I want you to build a car because there's going to be a mudslide or something like that. In your head, you may be thinking, what does a car and a mudslide have to do with anything? Or for Noah, what does a boat and rain have to do with anything, right? But Noah was obedient, as we know. He built the ark. Everybody's looking at him crazy, probably, as he's building this big old giant ark. And it probably didn't make sense, but he did it anyway. And a lot of times when God is telling you to do something, it may not make sense. It may not make sense in the moment. But that's because God doesn't just stay in the moment. God knows what's going to happen in the future. And that's the key to obedience. The key to obedience is trusting that God knows what's going to happen in the future. We have to trust God and know that he holds the future. So being obedient is also an act of faith. So obedience shows faith, right? When you're obedient to what God is telling you to do, that is saying that I have faith in God, and I know that he has the best plans. It's not about what I want or what I think or anything like that, but I'm going to be obedient to God because I trust him. Like, obedience has so much stuff wrapped up into that one act. But Noah builds the ark, and then it starts to rain. Well, before it starts to rain, the animals came into the ark because God was planning on flooding the earth and basically restarting it and starting it over, right? And so the animals come into the ark. Noah got his family in there. It starts to rain, and then it starts to flood, right? It starts to flood, and then the boat makes sense, right? At that point, now it's like, oh, I see why he wanted me to make this boat, and I see why he wanted me to make it in the way that he wanted me to make it, and I see why there are all these animals on here. Like, everything made sense, right? And so it's better to be obedient than disobedient, because in the end goal with obedience is what's really important. And that's what God has been showing me. God has been speaking to my spirit on a whole lot of things lately. And I've been trying my hardest just to be obedient. Like, if God tells me to do literally anything, like literally yesterday, I was getting dressed for church, and I felt on my spirit to wear a certain shirt. Like, it's just an orange shirt or whatever. And you can ask Ashley. I ironed 2 other shirts, but I ended up still wearing that orange shirt. And I don't know why I felt so heavy on my spirit that I needed to wear that shirt. But like, I was thinking about it as I was getting dressed and as I was going to church yesterday. I was just thinking, like, you never know what God can do with your obedience, or is trying to do that you need to be obedient with. Like, what if me wearing, like, because I had a black shirt, I had a darker brown shirt, and then I had this orange shirt, right? What if God wanted me to wear this orange shirt, so that way if someone is speaking about me, and this could happen, okay? But what if God wanted me to wear this orange shirt because somebody of importance was talking about me, right? And they mentioned me, but they were trying to find me in the crowd to point out to that person that is important. And they saw me in that orange shirt because I stood out. Y'all don't want to hear me today. They saw me in that orange shirt because it stood out. So they were able to say, You see him in the orange shirt? That's Garrett. Who knows? This could have happened. You never know. That's the point that I'm trying to get to y'all today. You never know what God is doing. So just be obedient. Like in the future, who knows what can happen? Someone could come to me and say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm with Cox Media Group or something like that. We came to the church and I was wondering, like, who's da-da-da-da-da? And then so-and-so told me about you, and she pointed to you, and you were wearing an orange shirt. You never know what God is going to do with the obedience that you give to him, because there's so much tied into that obedience. So I just want to say today to you all that's listening or watching, be obedient. If you feel it in your spirit that God is telling you to do something, do it. It may be hard. It may seem weird, but it'll be worth it in the end, because if God is telling you to do it, he already knows what's going to happen. He already knows how it's going to end. So just be obedient and follow him. Now, that's the end of what I wanted to say about that, but I want to give you guys an update on something that I plan on doing with the channel moving forward, and that is I don't have a name for it yet, but it's like a time of accountability where we all hold each other accountable for things. So maybe I'll tell you all something that I want to do by this time next week, and then all of you all that are watching on YouTube can leave in the comments things that you want to do by this time next week. And then this time next week, we can all get together and then discuss, like, hold each other accountable. Like, did you accomplish what it is that you wanted to do? And if not, we're not going to bash anybody or say, look at you, you're lazy. No, we're not going to do anything like that. But it's just I've just been feeling like led to have something where I can be held accountable and hold people accountable. So that'll be coming in the future. If there's anything that you have that you want to be held accountable for, leave it in the comments below, and we'll check back in with you next week. But next week I'll have it more fleshed out, more figured out how I want to do it. But yeah, until then, I love y'all. Thank y'all for rocking with me, and I will see y'all next week. Peace. Lord knows what'll happen, but I'm trusting him with my soul. Through the sad and the happy, cause it's foretold. In the end, we gon' win, check the Bible. Lord knows what'll happen, but I'm trusting him with my soul. Through the sad and the happy, cause it's foretold. In the end, we gon' win, check the Bible. God always on time for me. Still always a surprise for me. God ain't never been shy to me. 21